Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today I'm going to be breaking down some defensive film from the Ruston and Ouachita game this previous Friday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to break down film from an offensive standpoint. I'm going to break down film from a defensive standpoint, and I'm going to break down film from a special team standpoint. So for this video specifically, we're going to take a look at the defense. So on this play right here, you got a guy to have a situation. You got them in the red zone, a 3rd and 12, and this was one of those possessions where they were kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Ouachita, that is, they got hit with one offensive holding, and they got hit with a false start called false start, which actually pushed them behind the numbers, which made this a 3rd and 12 opposed to a 3rd and medium, which would have been a little bit more convertible. So you see right here, Ruston is in it looks like they're in a 3-4. So the outside edge rusher that they had, they dropped him out into the flat. Right. So what they were doing, I believe, were rushing just 3. And it looks like they possibly had, number 4, who was a spy. And they kind of just mirrored Connor, because obviously, breaking down film from last year's game, one of the things that hurt them in a lot of ways was Connor utilizing his legs. So on the got to have a situation 3rd and long, they just rushed 3 and kind of just dropped everybody back into coverage. And you had 3 guys kind of playing with zone eyes and kind of just watching Connor, which whenever he ran, it would allow for them to be able to react a little bit quicker on the play, like how they did right here. And then obviously when you implement a 3-4 defense, a lot of the times, offensive linemen are looking for double teams, especially in run plays, to be able to try to double team and then climb and get to the next level. And a lot of times in pass plays, if you are only rushing 3, you take away from opportunities from teams to double team. And then it just causes a little bit more confusion on the offensive line. So that's exactly what they do right here. They rush 3 and drop everybody else back in the pass coverage. And then number 92 is able to get some penetration up front. You see that he ended up running past the quarterback. Initially, it looks like the offensive lineman kind of took him out of play as well. And then you look at number 90, Rakeem Potts was able to get a push as well. So when he got the push, that kind of flushed Connor out, and that kind of sent him straight to number 92. And number 92, thankfully, was able to, clip his legs and bring him down for a sack. So the previous offensive possession leading up to this, that ended resulting in a fumble, which kind of put Ouachita in prime real estate. But like I said, getting hit with that offensive holding, the false start, it kind of pushed them behind the numbers. And then on a 3rd down, they end up getting a sack as well. So that pushed them even farther behind the numbers. So I'm assuming, based off the field positioning, that they wasn't very confident in their kicker to make it. So they just went for it. And I guess in their mind, they was looking at it like, hey, if we don't get it at the end of the day, this would be like a punt or a kick in a sense. So in terms of where they would have the offense position, in offense position, so they went forward, and right here they weren't able to get it. You see that they just end up he just ended up overshooting the defense as a whole and kind of just throwing it out of bounds, which ended up leading to them not being able to get the conversion on the 4th down. So Ruston was able to hold up on their first red zone defensive possession. Like I said, man, it just was a lot of Ouachita shooting themselves in the foot with those 2 calls that just kind of put them behind the sticks, and then getting that sack just made it an even more impossible conversion. So on this play right here, we got to have a situation. We got a 3rd and 3. So it was initially a 3rd and 8, but Ruston got hit with I think it was an illegal substitution. I think it was 12 men on the field. So they end up moving it up from a 3rd and 8 to a 3rd and 3. And like I said, man, a 3rd and 3, 3rd and medium, or a 3rd and short is much easier to convert than a 3rd and 8, because it gives you a little bit more flexibility with the play calling, and you're not so one-dimensional, because if need be, especially how they had success running the ball at this point, you can hand the ball off and possibly get those 3 yards, or you can throw it, or in some situations you could be in 4th down territory to try to maybe take a shot downfield, or even just throwing the ball like they did here and just hand it off on 4th down, 4th and 3, and get the 1st down. But right here they end up throwing the ball. So Ruston ended up sending a blitzer on this play right here. You see the guy that's coming from so you had 2 edge guys. You had a safety who was number 1, who was coming from the right side of the formation, and then you had a outside linebacker on the left side of the formation, but he was standing up. So it looks like it might have been an actual 2-man blitz, but it was just a 1-man blitz right here. And it was just good recognition from Connor's part, because you see where the guy blitzed from is exactly where he ended up throwing the ball. So just filled in behind him. He got that. So I think that was the running back out the backfield, and they were able to get the 1st down on this 3rd down. So I'm noticing on a lot of these plays, so right here you got another 3rd and long, got to have a situation. So I'm noticing a lot of these plays that Ruston were sending blitzers from the outside. So if you look on this play right here, you got a blitzer coming off the right edge, and you got a blitzer coming off of the left edge, which left man coverage all on the back end. So technically they were in a cover 0, which means no over the top help. And that's why they was playing with such a soft cushion. So their whole thing was, okay, we're going to put some pressure on this quarterback and make him have to make quick decisions and make him have to get that ball out of his hands quickly, like they did on the previous 3rd down conversion on the 3rd and 3, and just like they did right here on this 3rd and 8. So when they sent the 2 blitzers from from the edge and had soft man coverage in behind it. They was able to get pressure up front, especially with number 4 coming off the left edge. They just was like, man, you know what? Let me just dip this ball off right here in the flats to the running back. The running back ended up dropping it on this play right here. But even if he wouldn't have dropped it, the defense did a pretty good job at rallying into the ball. So even if the first guy wasn't able to bring him down in space, then he would have had guys coming on the back end to be able to clean it up. On this scoring drive right here, man, Ouachita pretty much just ran the ball down Ruston's throat the entire drive. I actually don't think that they threw at all on this drive, man. It was just straight handoffs to Dave, and I mean, they were just running the ball straight up the middle. Every now and then they had some outside runs, but predominantly most of the damage that they did on this drive was just straight up the middle. So I'm not quite sure if it was just dominant offensive line play on Ouachita's part or just probably, kind of poor fundamentals on Ruston's part when it comes to block shedding and gap discipline and those things like that. But they were able to get back to the red zone again, get on the goal line, and right here they just pretty much ran what the Philadelphia Eagles dominate with in the NFL, which is just a tush push, and they were able to score on their second red zone trip of the game. So right here on this gotta have a situation, we got a 3rd and 13. So them being behind the sticks right here, this actually wasn't due to penalties. This was just good defense from on Ruston's part. On one of their rushes, they end up getting a 3-yard tackle for a loss. So that puts them behind the sticks right here. So man, I see that. I'm noticing that, like I said, if you notice that one of the reasons why Ruston was probably giving up a lot of runs was because they wasn't stacking the box necessarily. So they were utilizing normally the safety. So if you want to be strong against the run, more times than not, more teams are going to run cover 3, cover 1, which allows you to bring your strong safety down into the box to get an extra hat down there. So that way, more times than not, you outnumber the offense in terms of the blockers that they have. You have a free runner coming at the running back, but they were sitting back and they were sitting back with both of their safeties deep, but basically it looks like they're running a cover 0. So it's not like they're running a cover 4 or anything like that. It looks like they're running a cover 0 with no over-the-top help and just man, and then you got underneath zone. So it looked like they have 3 underneath zone players. And obviously, if you're playing man coverage and you have one of your guys that has to stay back for pass protection, then you have a free roamer on the defense. So they're like what they had on the outside with number 0, with the guy not necessarily going out for a route. It just left him with kind of just being a free roamer in a sense. So you got 3 eyes on the quarterback in essence. So it prevented Connor from being able to, hurt them with his legs. And it looks like a lot of the time too, what I was saying as well is that if you can take away his first read more times than not, and you have to make him have to go through his progressions, you're going to have a lot of success with that. And that's kind of what they did right here on that play right here. They took away the first read. And if you look at, they're playing very soft coverage, like they're playing off. I mean, like probably 8 to 10 yards off. So it takes away the possibility of the defense or their explosive receivers being able to get behind the defense. So right here, we got to have a situation. You got a 3rd and 2. And that's why I say one of the keys to Ruston being able to win this game defensively would have been able to try to win on 1st down and 2nd down and keep them in 3rd and long situations. Like I say, depending on the success that you had on those early downs, it's kind of going to dictate the success that you have on 3rd down because, like I say, to convert a 3rd and 8 is much harder to convert a 3rd and 2 because in a 3rd and 8 more times than not, you're not going to see this type of play right here, a read option. You're going to see it either being an RPO if anything, or just being something that's having to get to the sticks to be able to keep a drive alive. Right here, they find themselves in a 3rd and short and they just run a read option. Now, I do like the containment on the outside. So you see that they had the running back they kept the quarterback right there on the outside. I think that was number 22. He didn't come in overly pursuing the running back because if he did, the quarterback would have pulled that thing and then it would have been nothing. It would have been nothing but green grass for him to run outside. So I do like that. And like I say, man, they were able to get a push up front the whole game. And I think a lot of that could have been too just being able to, like I say, get those double teams, which allows one offensive lineman to kind of just chip and then be able to climb to the next level. And that's exactly what they do right here. If you look at the interior, one of the linemen, he's able to get to the next level and take number 4 out of the play, which allowed for them to get another explosive run and get a 3rd down conversion. All right, so you have another 3rd and long situation. Like I said, man, keeping them in 3rd and long, it makes them a little bit more predictable because obviously in a 3rd and 10, you can't hand the ball off unless it's something that you see that gives you confidence or unless you're just trying to catch the defense off guard with handing it off. But for the most part, more times than not, whatever you do is going to have to be something that's going either at the sticks or past the sticks to be able to keep the drive alive. So right here, you see they have a 3rd and 10, and once again, Ruston dials up the pressure. And I do like the blitzes that they were sending, just to try to keep him off of his square square. So they sent the 2-man blitz from the outsides again. They blitzed the guy from the left side. They blitzed the guy from the right side. And I think a lot of that was done too to try to keep him contained and keep him inside of their pocket to keep from scrambling. And right here, they just do a good job at being able to get into the backfield on him and get a sack. And like I said, one of the things that's hurting them too is that the way that Ruston defense is set up in the secondary is that they're playing very, very, very soft coverage. Like I said, taking the possibility of them being beat over the top away. Even if you look at the outside guy, let's wait till it show it again. Look at the outside guy. The corner's not even in frame on that. So that just goes to show you exactly how soft of a cushion that they're playing off of these receivers to try to prevent the explosive plays downfield. And like I said, once again, if you can take away the first read more times than not, he's going to try to rely on his athleticism and to be able to get out of the pocket and either run for the first down or to be able to extend the play to try to take some shots downfield. So we got another guy that have a situation right here. You see that in 3rd and 7. And once again, like I say, man, you look at the common denominator when it came down to Ruston being able to get 3rd down stops is that they had them in 3rd and long territory. No different than this play right here. So this play right here was just a beautiful read on the defense. So you see that they were running a screen play and the defense just did a good job at being able to recognize that, okay, man, we got pressure up front too easy and it ain't been like this all game. It got to be something to it. So they did a good job at recognizing that it was a screen play and being able to drop back to try to defend it. Number 22, Keelan Davis, just did a phenomenal job at reading it too and just being able to beat the blockers to the spot and come downhill and lay a tackle for a loss. So once again, you got another long yardage situation. Got to have it 3rd and 8. And once again, man, they just dial up the blitz on 3rd and long. And they just blitz off of the edge. And most of the blitzes have been coming off of the edge. Sometimes they might blitz 1. Sometimes they might blitz 2. On this play right here, they blitz 2. They blitz the guy off the left and they blitz the guy off the right. And once again, man, they've been giving them fits all game with those blitzes because they haven't been able to identify that they're going to be blitzing and where the blitz is going to be coming from. Had they been able to identify, they can kind of adjust the pass protection from a quarterback standpoint or from the offensive line standpoint, adjust the pass protection to the left, adjust the pass protection to the right, have the running back stay in the backfield to try to pick up some blitzes to give you a little bit more time to try to find something downfield. And like I say, once again, man, that soft coverage that they're playing, because they're playing about, about 7 to 8 yards, may even be a little bit more off of that. So it takes away the opportunity of deep passes. So once you take that opportunity of deep passes now the quarterback has to hold on to the ball much longer than he would have wanted to. But right here, man, this was just one of those freak plays right here. The blitz is coming to him. He's moving backwards and is able to get the ball off. And the receiver just does a good job at being able to go up in traffic and make a catch. But nevertheless, they still was able to get a 3rd down stop and make it a 4th down. So right here, you have a 2nd and 11. They was able to get a tackle for a loss on the previous play. But you end up getting a one-on-one matchup on the outside with Ouachita. And obviously, this idealistic for them. If you get a one-on-one matchup, especially that he's playing in press man, I keep talking about in a lot of those 3rd down situations, they had a very soft coverage on where they were playing about 8 to 10 yards off of the receiver, which pretty much took away from the go ball. So right here, obviously, it's a more earlier down, 2nd down opposed to a 3rd down, and they're playing press. So obviously, Ouachita liked the look that they had outside, and they took a shot here. But this was just phenomenal defense from the Ruston's corners perspective. I think that might have been number 25, Cam Dean, on the outside. And man, this was just a phenomenal rep. Man, he did a good job at keeping his feet underneath him, not extending his feet wider than his shoulders. He did a good job at using his offhand to be able to jam. Good placement with his jam too. Put it on the outside on his inside shoulder. And just was able to kind of run step for step with him. He stayed in phase, being able to make a play. Now I know some people might probably was like, oh man, this was holding. No, it wasn't holding. I'm gonna tell you why. Now you might see that right here he might kind of did, but I think that the hand fighting might have been on both parts. Now if both parties are hand fighting, the receiver and the corner are both hand fighting for positioning, then they're not gonna call it. But two, as a corner, they're never going to call it unless it's just deliberate holding when you can turn your head around and locate the ball. And that's what he was able to do right here. He was just able to, run in phase with him, get his head around to be able to locate the ball and almost end up coming up with an interception. So right here, we got another guy to have a situation. You got a 3rd and 11. And if you look at it, Ruston, like they sent a one-man blitz on net. They had 2 guys walked up into the A gap, it looks like, as if they were going to send a 2-man blitz through the A gap. But one of them ended up blitzing and the other one just dropped back into pass coverage. And obviously, I'm assuming they dropped him back to kind of be a spy to mirror Connor just in case he tried to run right here. Now, also, too, something that Ouachita did to try to combat the pass rush or the blitzes that Ruston has been sending on 3rd downs is that you just get the ball out your hands quickly. And that's pretty much what they did right here on this goal ball to Waddell Clark on the outside once again. Now, this right here kind of was one of them plays where it kind of was a 50-50 in a sense in terms of whether it was a pass interference or whether it was pretty good defense. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing that he didn't turn his head around to locate the ball, right? But that's not always necessarily a crime as long as you don't interfere with the receiver, because it's a thing. Some people might call it in phase, out of phase. And in phase is when you're allowed, like on the previous clip, when you're able to get your head back around and play the ball in the air. And then out of phase is when you can't get your head back around, but you just play through the receiver's hands, because once the receiver puts his hands up, more times than not, you know that ball is going to be coming. So you kind of can just play through the hands. And I think that's kind of more so what he did right here. Just looking at it, it wasn't like he was contacting him. He was in a good position in terms of a leverage standpoint. So it might feel like that kind of made it seem worse than what it was. But honestly, man, I think, like I said, it could have been a 50-50. I didn't really see enough right here in my personal opinion, for them to be able to call a pass interference call on that. I think that it was pretty good defense for the most part. And they were able to, once again, man, get another third down stop. So right here, this was one of the rare, and I think this might have been the only third and short stop that Ruston was able to get all game. So far on this drive, man, Ouachita had been moving the ball with relative ease. They actually was behind the sticks at one point on one play where they had I think it was a false start call that pushed them back 5 yards. And they was able to get, I think, 15 yards after that false start. And after that, it kind of just was a snowball effect with them being able to move the ball downfield, running it. But right here, man, Ruston's defense did a good job on 3rd and 2, and they got to have a situation stepping up and being able to make a tackle on the running back in space. And that's very hard to do considering exactly how strong Macario Day is, how elusive he is, how athletic he is, and shifty, especially with him having that low center of gravity. That makes it very difficult to attack him, to be able to bring him and Connor down in open space. And number 0 just does a good job at being able to come downhill under control. He didn't come down too aggressive. He was able to come downhill under control, square shoulders, and was just able to make a tackle to prevent him from being able to get the first down. So once again, man, you see the common trend. So whenever they did get it on 3rd down or 4th down, a lot of the times that they were in short yardage situation, which gave them a two-way go, like right here, so where they could just simply hand the ball off. And for the most part, I mean, Ruston had times where they would stand up defensively and be able to nip some of those runs in the bud. But as an overall standpoint, Ouachita for the most part had, man, I wouldn't say just an easy time, but they had a lot of success with just running the ball, especially right directly up the middle, exactly what they do right here. You see, they got 2 guys that crashed from the edge. They just wasn't able to get to him in time, and they just kind of got a push up front and, got a clear enough hole for the running back to be able to get to the first down, to be able to keep the sticks moving on this drive. So we got another guy to have a situation right here, 3rd and 5. Like I say, 3rd and 5 is a lot more manageable than a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 8 or a 3rd and 12, because it gives you that two-way option, especially for Ouachita. So right here, they just run forward. They just rush forward. They don't send a blitz. They have number 4 spying Connor, so he's pretty much just mirroring him wherever he goes. Now they were able to get pressure from a 4-man rush off the left side. You see the edge rusher on the left. He was able to kind of get towards Connor, and Connor just stepped up. So when Connor stepped up, he looked like he was finna take off running to the right. And more times than not, when he steps up, he's finna run. Every now and then, depending on the situation, he will kind of have his eyes downfield trying to extend the play. Because like I say, you see the guy that has his hand up, just showing, trying to let him know that he was open. But like I say, more times than not, if you take away Connor's first option, he's gonna rely on his athleticism and not have his eyes downfield, because that show was an option right there. But he ended up scoring this play, so it really doesn't make a difference. But they had number 4 shadowing him, and like I say, when he stepped up and looked like he was going right, number 4 kind of just over pursued in a sense and took himself out of position. And then, like I say, man, dealing with Connor, man, he's a very shifty, quick guy, and he can close the distance very, very quickly, and that's what he did right here. He was just able to step up in the pocket and, man, just run in for an easy walk-in touchdown. So once again, you got another 3rd and long. On the first down play, they end up getting another false start call, which pushed them back 5 yards, obviously. So that's what put them behind the sticks on that play on this drive. And then Ruston did a phenomenal job on 2nd down, just being able to keep them behind the sticks, making it a very, I wouldn't say impossible, but a very, very hard conversion. And obviously, the name of the game for Ruston defense this game has really just been applying pressure and trying kind of, get Connor off of his spot, and being able to take away his first read. And like I say, man, more times than not, a lot of what they done was explosive plays down the field throughout the season. So you see that in a lot of those gotta have it situations, Ruston was playing very, very soft coverage like right here. So it pretty much takes away the go ball in a sense, So obviously to combat that, you would start saying, well, let's start trying to run some underneath things. But in a third and long situation, it makes it very difficult to do that, because if it's anything short, you're far from the sticks. And especially if you're dealing with a team like Ruston that's pretty good tackling team and that pursues the ball pretty aggressively, it takes away from you being able to take those little quick shots. But on this play right here, they sent a one-man blitz on the edge, on the right, off the right edge with number 4, Aiden Adams. He just comes off a blitz and, is able to, get Connor off his spot. Connor tries to roll out to try to extend the play. He kept his eyes downfield for the most part, so it looked like he might have been trying to throw the ball downfield opposed to actually just running it. But he ended up just losing grip of the ball, and it ended up just, going out of bounds. So Ruston didn't recover it. So it was a fumble, but they didn't recover the fumble. It ended up going out of bounds, and it just put them even farther behind the sticks on this 4th down play. All right, so right here, man, you have another gotta have a situation. You got a 4th and 13, and like I said, once again, they're behind the sticks. And man, when you finding yourself in 3rd and long and 4th and long situations, man, it makes it very, very hard to have a high conversion rate on that. So right here, this play was no different. So you see that on this play right here, they only rushed 3. So when they rushed 3, that allowed them to drop 8 guys back into pass coverage. So now you're dropping 8 guys back into pass coverage. You got 4 receivers that go downfield for a pass, right? So if you got 4 guys that go downfield for the pass, technically you have 8 guys that's in pass coverage. You got 2 guys that like their spine Connor to take away the option of him being able to run the ball, and everybody else is just playing deep coverage. And right here, he just heaves it up there, and Jaden Anden just does a phenomenal job at being able to track the ball, going up and catching it at its highest point, and being able to get the interception to be able to, get them off of the field on 4th down. So this was the very last play of the game. You got a 2nd and 10. Ouachita didn't have any timeouts, and they just threw an out route, and Keelan Davis was able to tackle him inbounds before he was able to get out of bounds. So that prevented the clock from stopping, and they wasn't able to get back and get to the line and get the ball snapped before the game ended. And that ended up being games in. Ruston ended up pulling it off 21-14. So I kind of just took down some notes as I was breaking down film from this game from the defensive side. So you look at offensively, Ouachita was kind of hurting themselves in senses, kind of putting themselves behind the sticks whenever Ruston wasn't actually making tackle for losses. So they got hit with 1 offensive holding call, which pushed them back, and they got hit with 3 false start calls that pushed them back. Ruston did a good job on 3rd down, man. Out of 11 third downs, they only gave 3 of them up, so they did a phenomenal job. And like I said, those blitz packages that they were dialing up on those 3rd and long situations is one of the things that was kind of, keeping Ouachita kind of off balance. And then, like I said, too, man, a lot of those 3rd downs that they didn't convert, the common denominator was that they were in 3rd and long yardage situations, which makes it very hard to have a high conversion rate. They was on 4th down, they were 1 of 3. So out of 3 4th downs, they only was able to convert 1. Red zone stops, they got to the red zone a couple more times than I think it might have been like 6 or 7 times they got to the red zone, which resulted in 2 missed field goals. But whenever they got down there and they tried to score touchdowns, they ended up being 2 for 4. So Ruston did a good job at being able to stand tall in the red zone. Defensive holding and pass interference, Ruston actually didn't get hit with any of those for the most part. So that was a clean game on their part. Offsides on the defense, Ruston ended up getting hit with 1 of those. Now, this is the category that was insane in terms of what Ouachita was able to do, and that was explosive runs. And I put for explosive runs, normally it'd be like 10 yards plus, but I put for 8 to 10 yards. And let me tally these up. You had 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they had 14 total runs between, Dade and between Connor that was over 8 to 10 yards. So like I say, man, for the most part, man, they had their way at times with running the ball. And a lot of it was right up the middle. They had a few runs that they bounced to the outside, but majority of the damage that they were doing was right up the middle. Like I said, I'm not quite sure exactly what was there. Maybe it was a light box. Maybe it's a lack of technique and fundamentals when it comes to block shedding and being able to defeat blocks. But, that was entirely too much. Now, the category that I do love, and granted, when you look at it, it makes sense why, to an extent, this category was 0, and that was explosive passes downfield. They had none. But when you look at how many explosive runs they had, you say to yourself, okay, technically, based off the success they were having on the ground, they didn't have to throw the ball. So that was a plus in terms of that. And they was actually able to get tackle for losses too. They ended up getting 6 tackles for losses. They wasn't able to get any forced fumbles. They was able to get 2 sacks. And like I said, they wasn't really just dropping back to throw the ball a lot. And whenever they did, Connor would just take off running if the first option wasn't there. So that they didn't have a lot of opportunities to be able to get sacks. And then obviously you look at it, they was able to get an interception as well towards the end of the game with that Jaden Andy interception. So like I say, man, this was as good of a game that you can play from Ruston defense. I know that we had a lot of question marks with them in terms of the secondary and where they're going to be able to hold up. But like we say, you know, everything starts up front, starts in the trenches. Everything goes through the quarterback. So if you can find ways to disrupt the quarterback and constantly get him off his spot, it takes away from what he can do downfield. And like we've seen that Ruston was playing very soft coverage on the back end to take away those explosive plays downfield. So I think that it was overall good game plan by the Bearcats and Yanez coming into this game defensively. And I think that it was very well executed by the players, man. So like I said, man, I'm going to be doing another film breakdown, and that's going to be from an offensive standpoint. But man, if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, make sure that you click that notification bell where you be notified every time I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.